Welcome to New York, where the bugs cry 24/7, the neighbors rooster or dogs wake me up bright and early every morning, and the tea tastes best outside in the evening. But overall, it was a really decent move, so thank you so much for all of the warm good luck wishes that you gave me last week. The hardest part was actually not being able to skate, and the fact that I've kind of been sick since I came home from Germany, but luckily I did get in one final session at my little crusty spot in Virginia before leaving. Just enough to say goodbye. And for me, that ended up being an awesome session because I was able to get my second ever M80 and my first ever burial double rail flip, which I did get a toe touch, but I'm going to count it anyways because I truly thought that I wasn't going to be able to get that trick. In fact, I only tried it because when I was in Germany, my good friend Craig pushed me to. He encouraged me to do it. He said that he thought that I definitely could land it if I gave it an honest go, and he ended up being right, as much as it pains me to admit that. Thank you, Craig. Like, really thank you. No, I'm totally grateful that you pushed me to do it because it does turn out that what I was actually missing wasn't the skill to land that trick, but the confidence in myself to think that I could. Besides tricks, though, I do have some good news. One, I have this nice little front lawn. I can do some grass boarding or handstand practice, which I think is great. And two, I do have a basement right now that I can skate in. So even though the ceiling's pretty low and the floor is pretty slippery, which will limit me in some ways, but it's gonna help me get through winter, even if I'm just doing manuals and footwork and just tinkering. I'm really grateful to have it. And three, with your help, I think I've figured out what I want to do going forward on this channel for about the next 6 months or so. Last week I asked you what your goals and barriers were, and you really came through. Thank you so much. So many people answered and gave such good answers, and I was able to find connections and themes throughout a lot of the answers. So I think there's a lot that I'll be able to dig into, explore myself, and elaborate on, as some of these topics I've either already talked about a tiny bit or I wanted to talk about. So really are lining up pretty well. So thank you again. That's been a great help. And now let's address the title of this video. As I was going through this move and trying to figure out what I want to do for the next 6 months, another thing caught my attention. There's this really talented, as in really hardworking YouTuber named Struthless, who has come up with a creativity challenge that he's calling the ABC Superset. Basically making videos that start with the letter A through Z 1 week at a time in alphabetical order. And I heard this and was just immediately inspired. And I started looking up trick names and thinking, well, what tricks start with the letter A? What tricks start with the letter B? And I'm sure this depends on what your definition of fun is, but I was thinking, how fun would it be to learn new tricks like I learned my ABCs, 1 letter at a time? And so while I'm completely stealing this from Struthless, and I'm super grateful that his brilliant mind and his hard work came up with the concept, I was thinking that this might be a really fun challenge to do for the next few months, or honestly, just until I get bored. And the rules and goals are simple. 1, I'm going to start by choosing at least one trick that starts with the letter A, and then every week or few weeks, I'll move letter by letter down to Z. For example, I might practice axle stalls in week 1, boneless flips in week 2, and Casper variations in the following 2 weeks. 2, I'm going to practice the trick or tricks for at least 20 minutes in every skate session that I have. 3, I can spend the rest of my session doing whatever I want. 4, I'm going to move on to the next letter when I'm ready. Maybe after a single land, maybe after a few weeks of trying, maybe when I get bored. And 5, I can skip any letter that either has no flat ground tricks or no trick I feel comfortable trying. Because the point of the challenge is to push myself out of my comfort zone, to push myself in new directions, not to push myself into tricks that I might actually get hurt doing because I'm simply not ready for them. And finally, I want to invite you to join me. I think I mentioned in my last video that I've been feeling a bit lost in my skate progress recently. I go out to skate and I just don't know what to do. And I think part of the reason I feel this way is that I'm a little overwhelmed by how many choices I have. I've learned a lot of foundational tricks that can then be built upon for harder variations. Now the tricks that I can attempt with those foundations have just exponentially increased. And if you've ever heard of the paradox of choice, I think that's what's influencing me right now. There's so many tricks to choose from that I'm having a hard time choosing one. I'll either go out and do the tricks that I already know, I'll try something for one session, I'll skip it, maybe a few months go by, I'll go back and try it again, I get distracted by this trick, I see that trick on Instagram, so I decide that I want to try that one too. A tutorial comes out and I decide, well, I guess I'll try those for the next few weeks. Then I get distracted and I learn nothing. That's where my head is at right now, and that's why when I was listening to this challenge, I thought that it might be the perfect fix to the issue that I'm having. 1, it'll be a really cool exercise, it'll give me a little bit of direction, a little bit of goal, and 2, it's going to narrow down my choices so that I'm not faced with any trick under the sun at the moment, but I just have to look at tricks that start with the letter A and go from there. And once I feel good about that trick, then maybe I'll move on to letter B. If I get bored at B, I could move on to letter C and just kind of slowly move my way. And I can still practice any other tricks that I want to. You know, the point of the challenge is not to confine myself, but a little bit of structure and a little bit of restriction sometimes allows you to have your most creativity. And that's actually where Struthless came up with, you know, this idea of the ABC superset, restriction to produce creativity. And I think it's a great idea, and thank you so much, Struthless. I hope you don't mind that I'm stealing this. Not that you know that I'm stealing it, but I am. I do think that I'll be documenting a lot of this. I'd like to, 1, kind of show what I'm doing, maybe introduce some things that I'm learning along the way, give a few ideas of tricks that you might be able to learn, but there are definitely letters that are hard to choose from. I don't know any tricks that start with the letter Z. I don't know any beginner tricks that I could find that start with the letter A yet. But so if you know one that starts with A, let me know, because there might be some letters that are harder than others to find tricks for, which is why I don't want this concept, this challenge, to be too restricting, but to be more of a fun guide and a challenge moving forward. So if you are interested, let me know if you'd want to try this with me. Maybe if enough people do it, or if enough people are interested, we can start a little hashtag like ABC Skate Trick Challenge, and we can follow each other. If you're on Instagram, you can kind of hashtag that challenge, which I've never done a challenge like this before. I'm sick of saying the word challenge, but I've never done a challenge like this before. I don't know if anyone's going to join me. If you do, let me know. Maybe we can use the hashtag and kind of go through it together, maybe get inspired when we see someone doing tricks. Maybe you want to try that one too. Either way, let me know. I'm feeling really motivated to push forward right now. I'm feeling really good about it, really good about skateboarding, my desire to get better, my desire to make these videos. So I hope you're having a good day. Oh, I'm so out of breath. I'm too excited about this. I hope you're having a good day, and hope to see you next time.